Giving Ryan Snyder the week off on the BWI Daily Edition Friday show. Pinch hitting, as always, filling in where he's needed, doing a great job when doing so. We have Dave Eckert on the show. Dave, happy Friday.
How you doing, T-Frank?
I'm soldiering through. We're getting through. This has got to be the most boring, sad week without football. This is full depression mode of staring at walls, wandering around my apartment, not knowing what to do because there's no football, until spring. And luckily, we are almost exactly a month away from spring practice. It's a football wasteland, Dave. But that's why you're here to talk about basketball. A big win in a COVID rescheduled game yesterday for Penn State basketball, a 4 o'clock tip time. And before I remembered it was a COVID reschedule, I'm like, wow, they really don't want anyone watching this game. But we'll get to that in a second because there's always something football related to talk about. And NFL Combine coming up at the beginning of March, so we are a little over a week away from that. And you came up with a good idea of a topic we could discuss today when it comes to the draft and Jahan Dotson. So fill us in on what your thought was on Jahan Dotson and where he might go in the draft.
Yeah, I just thought it would be fun to take a look at what the best fits for him might be. I write a lot of mock draft stuff. I just kind of take the temperature of what the analysts are thinking for him. And pre-combine right now, you kind of tend to see him at the back of the first round, somewhere from 25 onwards. So yeah. I thought, now that we know the draft order, taking a look at which of those teams might be the best fit for Jahan Dotson would be an interesting exercise. So
yeah, I think that because I think that's a fair area to start with Dotson. He's not going to be going top 15 because to do that you need to be one of the freaks, right? You need to be one of the guys that has size, speed, some combination, some special skill to be ranked higher than, a really good football player with really good stats and really good tape and really good tools. So being an all-around football player at that position, a clear starter in the NFL, that's a really good spot for him, and I think that's a fair thing to do. So do you want to start at 25 and go all the way down through each team, or do you want to pick out the best ones?
Let's list the teams for the people.
Perfect.
All right. So
yeah,
25, we've got your Buffalo Bills, T-Frank.
Yep.
Then at 26, we've got the Tennessee Titans. At 27, we've got the Tom Brady-less Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Much different now.
Yes. 28th, we've got the Green Bay Packers from the 49ers. At 29, we've got the Dolphins pick is from the 49ers. And then at 30, we've got the Chiefs. At 31, we've got the Bengals. And at 32, we have everybody's favorite Detroit Lions.
Sneak in there with that Rams pick from Matt Stafford, which so they have. Do they have the first and 32nd pick? They have the first, the beginning. No, because the Jaguars have the first pick. Yeah. Okay, so they're basically beginning and ending the first round. So let's go. Let's start at 25 with the Buffalo Bills. There is the possibility of a need here where the Bills have Stephon Diggs. He needs to have a contract extension. But Gabriel Davis came on in the playoffs and was one of the best players in football in the second half of the season. But the usage there was super inconsistent. So I guess we should start before that. Let me back up. We need to establish some criteria for what's a good fit for Jahan Dotson. What are his strengths and what does he need to be? What environment does he need to be successful? Do you have any thoughts on what you're looking for on this list?
Yeah, I think number one is opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Where can he go? Where he's going to get snaps? Where he's going to get a chance? Then you're looking at, I guess, just the quality of the offense. Yeah. And I think based on where he's projected right now, there's a lot of good offenses, a lot of places where he can go and be in a system where they're competent.
Yeah.
Which is not always the case. I'm looking at you, Jacksonville. But
hey, they got Doug Peterson now. That'll fix everything, right?
Right? And then you look at the quarterback too.
Yeah.
There's various things, and I'm sure you have some thoughts too, Frank, but I think there's, a solid baseline.
I don't
for
know
him,
how the
though.
NFL is going to see Jahan, and that's to me that's the question: is he going to be a slot only at the next level? Because I think he's got the versatility to play both inside and outside. His release at the line of scrimmage is good. Now facing NFL corners, he's going to see more physicality at the line of scrimmage. So his size and his strength, that is one of the things that is going to be a knock on him in his draft profile. So teams that have offensive intelligence to use players in more than one way, and they're not just going to stick him at one spot and let him play that spot. Like, I don't think he's a slot only receiver. I think he has the versatility to maximize his talent that way, and that's why I think the Bills are a good starting place, because they've done some of that. And Emmanuel Sanders most likely moving on this offseason. So they do need another young player on that roster. Cole Beasley is over 32 years old now. My wife says every time he gets hit, it looks like that's the last play he's ever going to play in football. So there is room for Jahan here, but I don't know that they're going to prioritize a weapon like that when they've already got guys they like in Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, and Dawson Knox at tight end, who finally turned the corner and learned how to catch the football. So it's a potential fit, but I'm not sure that is going to be where he lands. I am skipping right over the Tennessee Titans because they play with two receivers. And I don't think his skills are best accentuated in an offense where he's going to come in only on third down and be targeted 4 times in a month. And their offense is not conducive to having receivers on the football field. Tampa Bay is an interesting one. What do you think about Tampa Bay?
Yeah, it largely depends on their quarterback. I don't even know who their backup quarterback is.
Blaine Gabbert.
Ooh, nice. Yeah, that's probably not who you want throwing you the football as a rookie. But yeah, so it depends what they do at quarterback. That's a place where there could be some opportunity. Chris Godwin, free agent.
Mike Evans, free agent as well.
Yeah, so I mean, there's is Gronk going to keep going there? Probably not, right? No. So there's a void there, certainly. So that's a place where he could get some chances. It just kind of depends where that's one of those places here where, okay, do they have that baseline competence offensively that you need for a rookie wide receiver to succeed? And I don't know whether or not the answer is yes there based on who their quarterback is going to be.
So it's interesting because this is a good schematic fit. One of Dotson's strengths is as a vertical receiver, getting downfield, route running, and creating space for himself. In Bruce Arians' offense, it's a vertical-based system. Now, Tom Brady implemented a little more short passing. They focused a little more on throwing to the running backs, to the tight ends, but it's bombs away traditionally with Bruce Arians. And he's not the biggest guy in the world, and he would definitely be a step down from 6'9" Mike Evans and 13-foot tall Chris Godwin, but he has skills to get open deep and create those plays. So it would be a good fit. I do think that, because that's a team that used Chris Godwin in the slot as a 6'2" receiver. So they have that ability to be flexible with talent and alignment too. But you're right. It doesn't look like Aaron Rodgers is going to be moving. They just hired his favorite quarterback coach back in Green Bay. I know, I'm sorry, for you, the Vikings fan.
I'm so tired of it, T-Frank. Make it stop.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, he hasn't done anything with that when he's gotten in the playoffs. So it ultimately ends in as much frustration as what you may have. So I think Tampa Bay's the best fit we've seen so far. That doesn't make it a great fit for production. But speaking of Green Bay Packers, 28. Tell me about the Packers and what you think from that standpoint, whether Dotson would fit there.
Yeah, I think he would definitely fit there, right? I mean, Aaron Rodgers loves Devontae Adams. We all know this. But they've got a little bit of a salary cap situation going on there. And look, you prioritize Devontae Adams, right? You have that weapon. That's the guy that you prioritize. But I mean, do they have to maybe clear out the rest of the wide receiver room to make room for, to make salary cap space, because they're in trouble. They have a problem. So, I could foresee there being some opportunity there for Jahan Dotson, depending on how the opportunity plays out. And then you look at the other factors, right? I mean, what more could you ask for? You get to learn from Devontae Adams. You've got Aaron Rodgers throwing you the football.
Yep.
I mean,
Similar
Looks pretty
player,
good.
too,
Yeah.
with Devontae Adams. I think maybe a little bit bigger, a little stronger, but he doesn't use physicality to win. He is very much a route runner. He uses his feet and his agility to get open. And I think that you're right. That's a great place that is dying for another good receiver. So unlike Tennessee, who also runs a run-heavy team, play action, the Packers, they do a lot of play action throwing deep. I do think here there is more opportunity because you have Aaron Rodgers and you have a little bit more flexibility in the style of offense to be a little more multiple. It's not just Ryan Tannehill under center and Derrick Henry 15 times, and then you get yours after that, and then the fourth quarter rolls around. So that's going up to number 1 on our list right now. The Dolphins, 29th. I'm just a hard pass on this one. Just a hard pass on this one. Because you got a first-year head coach. You have Mike McDaniel, who is from the Kyle Shanahan tree, and his first comments about how they're going to run that offense is all about time of possession and running the football. And for our BWI message board members, you're probably loving the conversation about you need to establish possession and play keep away. That's not conducive to being a good maybe it is conducive to being a good receiver, but Tua Tagovailoa, no. The Bengals. Does Tyler Boyd move on? Is there an opening and an opportunity here for Dotson if he comes in and would probably be more of that slot guy? But in that offense, I think that's an interesting fit. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely you've got the quarterback. You've got a system that works pretty clearly. It's the opportunity is the question, right? I mean, Jamar Chase is a stud. T. Higgins, stud.
Yep.
So, at best, you're the number 3 there. And they love to give the ball to Joe Mixon, too. Joe Mixon gets the ball a ton as a proud Joe Mixon fantasy owner. I love it. But, so, you look at, how many targets is he going to get? Is he going to get there? I don't know. And really, are they going to pick a wide receiver there? I feel like probably not. They're probably going to pick an offensive lineman.
So really need those. Really need those. Our last team, and this is where we started with a hard no, but the Detroit Lions at 32. They do need receiver help. So if we're talking about volume of targets, Dotson would walk in and be the best receiver on this team, and Jared Goff is presumably the quarterback.
Yeah, I guess.
Is this another wasteland of offensive lack of production? I don't know. It just seems like a terrible situation.
You never want to be a Detroit Lion. Let's be honest.
It is so sad.
But T-Frank, we missed the Chiefs. We skipped over the Chiefs.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I skip over the Chiefs?
We did.
Oh, at 30. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
30.
So
how does that work other than perfectly?
Yeah, exactly. I think this is the one that I would go with because, they still haven't really landed on a number 2 wideout to Tyreek Hill. Travis Kelce is getting older. They might need to find somebody to maybe take a little bit of that target share. Patrick Mahomes is awesome. Offense, awesome. So, I'm not really sure that there's a ton to dislike about this, about that scenario. And actually, that is, a team that I see him landing at a lot in mock drafts too. So I do think that would be a really interesting and good fit for him.
And it checks all our boxes too. Offensive creativity, the ability to play inside, outside, doesn't have to be the number 1, but can feast on the lack of coverage and can get open in a lot of ways. And teams play zone against the Chiefs all the time. And if there's one thing Dotson is particularly great at, it is destroying zones, at least on the college level. So having that guy who has a feel for that. Now, how do you win against Kelce, who's good at that, and Tyreek Hill, who is a threat to take it every which way on the field? So yeah, I think we found our winner there. Of if you're a Penn State fan, cross your fingers that he's going to be a Kansas City Chief in the future, so that you can have a proud Nittany Lion in the NFL tearing it up like Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe not to that level, but yeah. So let's transition and start talking about Penn State proper. The basketball team won a gritty performance, I think Micah Shrewsbury called it yesterday.
Gritty, not pretty.
Gritty, not pretty. It was not pretty for Minnesota. I actually was out doing some things, and I came back, and it was 67-48 at the end.
46, yeah.
46.
Yeah.
So that's by far the best defensive performance of the season, and by far the most complete game they put together, right?
It's definitely, in my opinion, their most complete game. Minnesota. I mean, look, Minnesota might have had 10 good looks in this entire game. It wasn't a case of, occasionally in college basketball, you're getting a team that just can't hit a shot. I mean, Penn State fans know this because a lot of times that team is Penn State. So, but I mean, the defense was smothering. It was impressive. It really was. I mean, that's my primary takeaway from this game is just how well Penn State defended, especially considering Minnesota dropped 76 on them a week ago. So 30-point performance here defensively for Penn State.
How the biggest difference to you between the two games? And I know that there's a lot of stuff going on with this game, so maybe we should back up and start with that. I kind of gave a preview of it at the beginning of the show, but what are the circumstances that you're playing a Thursday game at 4 p.m. at the Bryce Jordan Center?
Yeah, Minnesota had a COVID problem when this game was originally scheduled to be played, so they had to move it. There was a women's game at 7 already scheduled, so they ended up playing on a weekday at 4 o'clock. And there were not that many people there to see it. But that's okay. I think Penn State's used to that. I think the biggest difference defensively for them is, Eric Curry, who is not a very good scoring center, hit about 59 jump shots in the first game. Jump shots that they were giving him, by the way. They said, here, shoot it, because we don't think you will make this. And he made it a lot. And he had 1 point in this game. He was 0 for 6 from the field. So
more of what you would expect from that particular player in this game.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you look at, Peyton Willis, Minnesota's second leading scorer. He had 5 points, 2 of 6 from the field. Really the only guy that had it going at all was Jamison Battle, who is their leading scorer. He finished with 16. But he shot it 15 times to get there. He was 6 of 15 from the field. So really, I think that's like an efficiency margin that Penn State will take with him. So, there were just no bright spots for Minnesota offensively. It was dominant. It really was.
What's been the common theme in these 2 straight wins for Penn State this week? Because they rebounded in a major way from I think it was a 3 or 4 game skid, come back, beat Michigan State, and then beat Minnesota. So what's been the common theme the last 2 games?
I think they've played offense a little bit better. I think Penn State actually shot over 50% in this game, which might be, I didn't look it up beforehand, that might be their best mark of the season. They were at 53.8 in this game. They were 7 of 14 from 3, which they don't do a lot. That's really good. And against Michigan State, look, I really felt like Penn State just wanted that game more than Michigan State. And I know that's cliche and not very good analysis, but
Michigan State. Excuse me. Sorry, I thought you meant Minnesota. Yeah. Sorry. Continue.
Well, yeah, but I think that they're playing a ton of games in a very short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
They do not go very deep into their bench. They have a core of 7 or 8 guys that get the vast majority of their minutes, right? And so to get these guys playing with maximum effort, defending the way that they do, because if Penn State doesn't lock you down defensively, Penn State doesn't beat you.
Right.
Okay? That is item number 1 on the checklist. So to be in the dog days of the season where you're playing, in this case, after 1 day of rest, and to be able to put in that type of defensive performance, all of these factors considered, I think is really impressive. It illustrates, I think, a level of buy-in with Mike Shrewsbury. And, this team has good leaders. John Hare is a great leader. So, I think that's really the biggest factor is, they were what? They were 4-9 in the Big Ten coming into these 2 games. Their goals for the season were pretty much, off in the distance. A postseason berth was not happening. And now all of a sudden they're 6-9. If they go 3-2 down the stretch, they've got to win a game in the Big Ten tournament and they probably get into the NIT.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a lot more realistic now. They didn't quit, and I think that's impressive.
What did Penn State get from Jalen Pickett yesterday?
Jalen Pickett was great. Jalen Pickett was awesome. Great is underselling it. He was, they did. Penn State ran pick and roll action with Jalen Pickett and John Harrod probably on 75% of its possessions, and Minnesota just had no chance against it. It was like they've never seen a pick and roll before. It was pretty like it was Jalen Pickett with a shot from mid range or close to the basket with space, or a John Harrell layup just about every time. So, and look, that's what they brought Jalen Pickett in to do. Jalen Pickett is Micah Shrewsbury's pick and roll maestro. That's what they want from him. So, yeah, I mean, that's all there was to it. And they ran some isolation stuff for Jalen Pickett too, just because he was feeling it. You get him one-on-one with your defender, and he makes a play. 2 of 4 from 3 as well, which is important. 9 of 14 from the field, really efficient. Yeah, he was great. He was really good on defense too. I think he had 2 steals and 2 blocks as well. So
one other play I want to ask about, because I think he's a key to this whole thing. When he's playing his best, Penn State actually is a threat offensively and has a high-level defense. That's Seth Lundy. What did they get from him offensively yesterday, and has he continued to, provide it and bring it on the defensive side of the ball, which can be sometimes up and down depending on how he's playing that night, or at least it was early in the year?
Yeah, Seth had a little bit of a down game. He had 3 points in this one, but it's interesting, right? Seth Lundy is Penn State's best defender, and I think Seth Lundy should be on the All Big Ten defensive team at the end of the year. I don't know if he will, just because Penn State isn't one of the better teams in the Big Ten.
Right.
But he guards the best player every time. And actually, it was interesting. I was pointing this out on our message boards. Every time Minnesota was coming up the floor from like a stretch starting at like 10 minutes left in the first half, they were running a screen for Battle to force the switch to get Lundy off of him.
Right.
Because that was Battle's best stretch of the game when they were doing that. It was usually Sessoms or Dalton Johnson that would pick him up.
Yeah.
And Battle would just take him and score. So I think that's a little bit of an indication about what teams think of Seth Lundy's ability to defend. I do want to point out, though, that he was wearing a back brace at halftime, which I've never seen him do before. He didn't play. And look, Penn State blew him out. So,
right.
Mike Shrewsbury had an opportunity to get some rest for his guys. And I don't want to read into this too much, but I don't think he played all that much in the second half. So maybe just something to keep an eye on. He played 24 minutes total, which is not a ton.
You're bringing up things that make me want to ask more questions. So I got a couple more. How important is that then when you get a blowout and you get to rest players at the second half of the game? Because you said they're in the dog days. There's a brutal stretch here that they need to win. Getting that rest in the second half, how critical can that be to set them up for the next game?
I think it's huge. If Lundy is a little bit banged up, I mean, that's really big for him. John Harrell only had to play 22 minutes. Jalen Pickett, who plays pretty much every minute of every game, only had to play 31. So, again, you get these guys off their feet a little bit. That's important. That's really big. They've got a really big game at Maryland coming up on Monday. To get to that 3-2 mark, they have to win a road game. They've got 3 road games and 2 home games left, and that's probably the most winnable one. So yeah, that's big. I think Maryland plays tomorrow, so they do have a little bit of a rest advantage there, which is also big. But yeah, definitely getting guys off their feet is really important.
Dalton Johnson, you mentioned him a couple minutes ago. He's been getting a start maybe the last month, maybe a little longer than that. What is he bringing to the court, and why is he getting out there as one of the guards over some of the other guys, and then bringing Sam Sessoms off the bench?
Yeah, I think outside of Sessoms, he's probably like one of very few fast players that Penn State has. Right. There's not a ton of speed on this roster, and he can cut, he can run through and get himself open in the corner or on the wing. He's a good 3-point shooter. I think he was, he made 1 3 yesterday. But yeah, that's what he does. I mean, he's not the strongest. I think he struggles a little bit defensively just because he lacks size. But yeah, I mean, he's quick. He's going to cut. He's going to give you some 3-point shooting. He's going to play a little bit faster than pretty much everybody else on the court, unless Sessions is out there with him. And Penn State needs that dynamism. I mean, look, Penn State doesn't want to play fast. I think we've talked about this 100 times on here. They want to play slow, but they need somebody who can use their speed to create space for themselves and create space for others, especially when you're playing in the half court.
You still need offense. Even if you don't play fast, you need offense, and speed helps to get people open.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure, and he does that.
Last thing then is if Penn State, again, if they want to make a postseason run, they want to be at their best, they need Greg Lee back. What's the situation with Greg Lee? Any update on his injury?
Yeah, we were in practice Monday, and I believe he just had an ankle brace on, so he's out of his boot, which is good. He does seem to just it doesn't look like he's walking pain-free when you see him at games and you see him, at practice. So I don't know how close he is. Micah Shrewsbury says he's day-to-day. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know how close he is. If they can get him back, that's huge. But
for the tournament, maybe, even if it isn't for the end of the season, do you think by the Big Ten tournament he might be available?
Probably, if I had to guess. I would. Yeah, I think he'll probably play before the regular season is over, if I had to guess. I don't think it's like a super long-term thing, but, as for is he going to play Monday? Probably not. If I had to make a guess, and if he does, I wouldn't expect to see that much of him. So yeah, it's they'd love to get him back, but they're playing all right without him, really, which I think kind of surprised me, because if you look at how they were succeeding with him, it's because they were getting a ton of second chances. They were, we're going to crash the offensive glass like crazy. We're going to get second chances for ourselves. It's not going to matter that much if our offense isn't that efficient. And, lately their offense has been more efficient, and, they've done well defensively as well. So, they'd love to get him back, I'm sure. But I don't know if it's as urgent as it seemed to me, at least, when the injury happened.
So you mentioned Monday with Maryland. What time's the game, and where can people check out your work and follow along with you while you're watching the game?
I have no idea what time the game is, T-Frank. I'm going to Google it for you right now.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll fill everybody in on the fact that they can check out BlueWhiteIllustrated.com for just $1. Sign up for the Lions Den message forum where you can ask Dave any question you want about basketball recruiting. I read your answer yesterday on the BWI mailbag show, so thank you for that assist on a question, because I want to make sure we're getting as much basketball on the show as we can with the season coming to an end here in the first season under Micah Shrewsbury. So now that you're done typing, what time is the game on Monday?
7 o'clock, which really, probably could have guessed 7 o'clock, but that's the basic start time. But yeah, Maryland struggling this season. Interim coach Danny Manning not really getting it done. So winnable game for Penn State. They usually play well there too. So we'll see.
At Dave Eckert 98. You can check him out on Twitter during the game, get his live analysis and instant reactions. And, of course, like I said, Lions Den message forum, there's a live game thread every time. It is the best second screen experience you can have because the people there are actually talking the game, and there's insight and information from experts like Dave and Nate Bauer. So that'll do it today for the BWI Daily Edition. And Nate, Nate, just talking about Nate. Dave, we will do it. That'll do it for the week here. Luckily, we're done for the week because now I'm calling people by the wrong names. So pretty good. Thanks for coming on, Dave.
You got it, T-Frank, anytime.
Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and, of course, to YouTube. A couple things came out this week. If you didn't see it and you don't have the notification on, we had a film room on Javen Williams. There's going to be another one coming out in the near future on Anthony Donko, the other offensive lineman that committed in the month of January to Penn State football. I'm your host, Thomas Frank Carr. We'll talk to you then.